Welcome to the channel. These are questions you should be able to answer before you take your August SAT. I'm going to give you Desmos tricks to answer them, at the same time, algebra understanding to set it up in the right way. Are you ready? Let's get to it. First question. The first question is very interesting. You got to be able to identify with algebra, right? This is an expression. Expression has exactly one solution. And B is any non-zero constant. What is the value of C? You can see that this is a quadratic equation. Rewrite it in the standard form and then put it in Desmos before you can solve it. Otherwise, it becomes difficult. This is how you use algebra and Desmos together. So we're going to make by standalone, and we're going to have minus 4x squared minus C plus 91. And then our y is going to be all over this. Don't worry about simplifying. When you put it in Desmos, Desmos will do the rest. 91 over b. Then think about it. If this has one solution, what is going to happen? We're going to have something at the vectors or a slant. And therefore, if that's the case, we need another function. And so I'm going to put this in Desmos. And what am I going to tell the function? Well, this, I'm going to make you f of x. So our f of x is this whole function. You ask it for slider, don't worry. But because we need exactly one solution, there's algebra concept you have to know. If this is a quadratic equation, know exactly one solution, that means the curve or the parabola need to touch the x-axis at one point. Remember, x-axis is exactly y is equal to 0. This is what most students don't know, is y is equal to 0. If y is equal to 0, the graph is going to touch the x-axis, but that x-axis is exactly y is equal to 0. That's the key. Because of that, we're going to have another function. I'm showing you the trick and explaining the algebra to you that most people don't tell you. They just solve it, but you don't understand where this is coming from. G of 0x has to be equal to 0. Now we have two functions because that is equal to y is equal to the line of y, right? And then just say take a slider. It's okay. You can take slider. It's okay. But when you're taking slider, you got to think about it. The function they're asking you about, leave it alone and make the other one constant. They want C. I will make B is equal to 1. That's all. And now I can see that I have a graph right here. It's being graphed and the apex is at the top. This is the apex. We said exactly one solution, right? And then B is a non-zero constant. That's why I make it 1. So it's gone. Now I need to worry about C. What am I going to do? Exactly one solution. C has to pull the graph down to attach to the y is equal to 0, which is the x-axis. So I pull it down. It looks like I need more. So I'm going to make this probably 50. It's coming down still. 6, 87, 88, 89, 90. Still not gone. You can move the slider. Probably let's make it 100. And we still have solution. We have 10. We have a solution. And therefore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this a little bit all the way here. And you can see at this point, 91, when C is equal to 91, we attach the x-axis. That is the value of C. We write on y is equal to 0. And did you see something? Look at it carefully. It's exactly to our constant here, plus C. Why? Let me explain it to you. You need to understand the algebra. If I'm taking the SAT, I will know I've done it. I'll look at this and I said, this has to be 91. Why? I told you exactly one solution. The graph has to attach to this line, which is y is equal to 0 line. This is y is equal to 0.2 line. These are all y lines. X line go up and down. And therefore, if this has to be y is equal to 0, the x also is going to be on this point is equal to 0. And therefore, if I make x is equal to 0, all I'll be left with is this function. For this function, okay, to be equal to 0, this is 0. The c has to be what? Negative reciprocal of the 91, which is 91. And that's why it's also 91, because if this is 91, the whole function is negative plus positive. This is 0, and that makes y is equal to 0. And this is why we have this function. Think about it. Sometimes you don't need Desmos. I'm showing you the trick. This is another trick I will show you, and I want you to pay attention carefully. Whenever you see radicals like this, they give you a function and you want to use it in Desmos, there's a trick. Stick around. Let me show you. So we have a function g of x by that. There's a negative, and then there's a square root sign. You know square root cannot be negative. It can be 0, but it cannot be negative. So Desmos will have trouble with this. But it's the way you can go around it. It passes through this point, 2, 0, 0, negative 2, 6, 6. And Q and R are constant. If g of x is equal to 0, what is the sum of the values of x for which g of s is equal to 0? A bunch of rubbish. Don't worry about it. They try to confuse you. What you need to do is to first input the function in and tell Desmos, this is what I'm dealing with. This is the problem I have, and I need help with that. So you input this into the system, and you have s squared plus q r qx plus r. This information, whenever they give you point in the system, in the question, plot it. That's your graph. And you can see these are intercept, 2, 0, 0, 2, 0, this function. These are intercept. Therefore, I'm going to put it in the equation. I have 2 is equal to 0. I have 0 is equal to negative square root of 266. And then I plot this, and I say, I know this is quadratic. I change it to quadratic form, right? And he plot it for me. This is the quadratic function. What is the next thing? Regress this function to that function. If you regress it directly, you're not going to get the right answer. The trick, I want you to stick around, take a pen and paper, pause. This is the trick. Because Desmos will have problem with the negative sign and the square root sign, your regression, you change it. What you're going to do, your y, which is this function, make it square. So you're going to square both sides of the equation. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to square both sides of the equation and take away the square root sign, and the negative will be gone. And now I have s squared plus qs plus r. And you got to make these guys 1 and 1. And boom, it gives you q is what? Negative 135. That's q. And the r is 266. I'll also show you something that is very, very important. Now, our true function is what? You can put it in the system. Now, your true function is what? G of x is now, right? That's your new function. And what do you see? I see that these intersect with the original function over here. This is the graph now. And intersecting at a certain point here and here. Look at this value. Those are the roots. But because of the square root, there's another root down here that you got to look for. And it's right here. So this is the actual function. You see how they line up perfectly. They line up perfectly. If I open it up, this is it. Perfect. And so you look for this function 2, and you look for this function 133. So your answer choice, your root that they're asking you is 2, 133. right? That's the key. If you don't look for it, you're not going to find it. So that's 2 here, and this is 133. What do you see? I know you saw something. It's very, very special about this question. So your root are 2, 133. The question asks you the sum of the values of s for which g of x is equal to 0. This is g of x is equal to 0. What are the function of x? The g of 0 is the f of s, which is the same as y. Y is equal to 0. What is making y is equal to 0? Is these x values over here. And what do you see? They are 2, 133. It's the same thing as q. They should add up to q. Why? The sum of the solution is b, right? Minus b. Therefore, because of the negative sign here, this is a classic question. When you think about it, after you calculate this, you don't have to do this, but because I want to show you, I show you the graph and we plot it and we get the same thing. So the sum of the solution is right here, 135, which is the same thing as sums of the value of s for which g of s is equal to 0. Don't pick r and q. R and q is wrong. We're looking for the roots that give you g of x is equal to 0. So that's the last question. This is also very interesting. Sometimes percentage questions are very fun when it comes to Desmos, right? You have to be able to write them and think about it. I will show it to you. A is 25% more, so 25% plus of B and C. And it said, and C is 60% of B. And then they say C is what percent of A. You just put it in Desmos. You regress them. So first, you have to follow some order. I know A start. A is percentage of something. And then the next one is C percentage. So I always do the left side first of something. And I go, I'm not working in, I'm just looking in the order. Quantity C is P percent, the same C. And I close my function and I regress it. And I said, now I'm going to write what is left. 25% more, it means 100% plus 25. You can change it into fraction, right? So that's the first thing. Of, so percentage of what? The sum, the quantity B and C. So B plus C, that's the first. The second one is C. They said the quantity C is 60% of B. So I take 60% of B. And I say quantity C, the same C is something percent. I don't know, P percent. So P percent of what? A. And boom, you get a right answer. Your P is 30% right there. And that's your right answer. Desmos can do this. You just have to read the order the way it's supposed to be. Otherwise, you get it wrong. This is also favorite. I'm showing you strategy how to manipulate numbers to get your answer using Desmos. These are plain information you should have at the back of your mind. If you struggle, then boom. Which of the following expression as a factor of that? Where B is a positive integer. It has to be a positive integer. So this is a positive integer. Best way to do this is just plot all of them. I'll show you the trick. Don't worry about the slider. This is the first function. The second function is this. I'm plotting all of them as quickly as much as possible. There you can put the function in, making sure you put in the right information in and checking, double checking before you pick your answer. Don't rush. Time is your friend. So if you messed up, you're losing point. So don't waste too much time. At the same time, don't rush through the test. And this is the function. Now, I input everything in it. It's not going to plot it. You see, it said, give me a slider, give me a slider. I said, okay, I will take a slider. B is equal to 1. B is nothing. So if I take B is equal to 1, there's a bunch of graph that is being plotted. All of them is being plotted. So I'll show you the trick here. The trick here is this. You see all those two functions, all of them is being plotted. What you need to do is to manipulate B to intersect on the x-axis. That's the definition of a factor. Every time you hear about a factor, go to the x-axis, y is equal to 0. And therefore, I'm going to keep on changing this. And because I need an integer, B has to be integer, so I'll go by 3. I don't see any. This look like it's very close, but it's not. I move to 4. There's nothing. It's not intersecting any line over here. Yeah, increase it to 5. It's getting closer, but there's no graph here. It's on the -10, but it's getting closer to this. I'm going to change it 6, and boom, you see, it's right there, intersect on the exactly -12, and the graph is consistent with that. It's not intersecting here, and so the only thing that intersect is the blue. Therefore, I take this off, I take this off, take this off, take this off, and you can see the intersection line. Therefore, blue, which is 3s squared 43 14b, is a factor of that. And that's how you can prove it right on the x-axis. This is how you use Desmos for your advantage when it comes to this question. So plot all of them. This question too is fun. It's interesting. I'll show you how to solve it. You got to pay attention to some few concepts. You know this is a rational equation, right? The upper portion and the lower portion. This is what determines the roots. This is why algebra is very important in mathematics, whether you use Desmos or not. And this is what determines the vertical asymptotes, right? Right? A certain amount of x will make the denominator 0, right? And they told you that. They said m, n, and p are constant, and h of x does not touches the line. It does not touches the line x is equal to 3. That's the vertical asymptotes. Therefore, what you need to do is x plus 2x plus p. We don't want it to be 0. What will do that? If x is equal to 3, p is equal to be what? -6. So when s is equal to 3 and p is equal to -6, the whole function will be 0 under. And therefore, our p, we already know p is -6. And that's what they mean by that function. So if you put p -6 in, you're going to solve the equation. Now they give you f of 7, give you 0. F of 8 give you 0. Therefore, they have the same output. You can plot the graph using that function. So the first thing I'm going to do is to plot, input our original function, which is s squared, and third Desmos. That is what we have. This is what we're going to deal with. And that will make things easier, 2x. But I know what p is. I put -6 right here. Now, I have my point. I said 7, 0, 8, 0, and I plot it. And I said, this is a quadratic regression. Fine. How can I find my graph? I don't know my graph. You see, it's laying down here. How can I find my graph? Is to regress it. So this y1, regress it to h of s. I put h of s as 1. And you have this function like that. It gives you the function, and it gives you m is equal to what? -15, and n is equal to 58. You want to confirm that's your right answer, right? We already know p. We got to make sure we say s is equal to 3, and the answer choice does not change. And when you look at it, you see why vertical asymptote, that means the graph never crosses over X. You see, it will get closer, 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 but it never crosses it. And that is the definition. And so this is why this graph is so beauty. This is what actually look like. And this is illustration of that. The graph get closer, but it never crosses X is equal to 3. That's a vertical asymptote. And we have all our function. Remember, that's not your answer. The answer choice asks you to do something, which is what? Find n plus p. That's all. Then you put n plus p in here. And that gives you minus 14. Right answer over here. So this question is interesting. I like it very much. It teaches you a lot of stuff, but you have to be able to do it. These are little things you should be able to do it. The next question is also my favorite. This is basic. If you learn this, every hard regression question become easy. You've been given this quadratic equation where m is a non-zero integer. That means it has to be a whole number. And the equation has no solution. We've talked about it. A quadratic equation that has no solution means it should not touch the x-axis, whether up or down, which is the y is equal to 0. It can get closer, but it should not touch it. This is the basis. This is why algebra is very important. Therefore, if this has no solution, what are they asking you? The greatest possible value. Students lose point from this, 50 points from this, big drop because of this easy question, 3 point. Not because they don't know the answer, they don't know how to interpret it. So I will show you what it means. Algebra helps. Don't just put Desmos. Everybody is talking about Desmos, students just freaking about Desmos. If you don't know the algebra, you don't know. The Desmos is not going away. Learn the algebra, how to use the Desmos, and then it became easy because now I understand the math and I have a tool that will help me ace my test, right? I get a slider, right? And that slider, what is it going to do? It's going to help you. This is the function, right? We say what? This is the graph. Greatest possible value that it has no solution. It has to come down all the way here, but it doesn't touch it. How would I do that? I'm going to put y is equal to g of x is equal to 0, right? I have my graph here. Red is my line. Now I'm going to move m because m is going to move the graph down, back and forth, back and forth. So I'm going to change it so that it comes down. What am I going to do? I'm going to make this maybe 50. It's coming down. I make it 80. 80. What do you do? What do you see? It crossed 60. Y is equal to 0. That means there's a solution. These are the solution of those points, right? When you see that there's a solution, I got to move it up. So if I raise it up, you see at a certain point, 70, 71. Let's see. You see 71, it even crosses a little bit. Therefore, let me make it 70. If I put it 70, it's vanished, right? How about 69.9? Maybe 99. Where is it? So 70, 71, 79, right? 79 is getting closer. 799, almost there. I'm trying to show you something. This is how students lose point. The 799 is the key. If I pass it, maybe I had one more. There's a solution. You see? If I take 9, there's no solution. The question says the greatest possible value of m. M has to be what? A non-zero integer. Therefore, what should be your right answer? Think about it. 70.99 is not an integer. And therefore, your right answer The least you can get is 90 and is 70 and it's gone. If I put 999, it's getting closer. I take it out, no solution. So even though 799 is very close of not being a solution, it's not an integer. We got to pick the 70. And so that's our right answer. Next question is the same thing, testing that concept. I don't want you to lose point. This is the same thing. In the given equation, it's an integer constant. The equation has no resolution. What is the smallest possible value of C? C can be what? Maximum or minimum. And B can be more than two solutions, right? But it's the same thing. The graph depends whether it's smallest or maximum based on how it opened. We're going to do the same thing. F of x is equal to what? 5x squared plus 27x plus C. Same thing. I pick a slider and I have my graph here. This is your graph. Remember, C usually move the graph up and down. So we don't want to have solution. What can we do to C to come up? Well, let me make this maybe 30. 38 is up. That means I know I'm closer. 37 is getting closer. 9 is going up. 8, right? So it's something. If I make it 36, it has a solution right there. If I make it 37, it has no solution. But if I make it 37.9, it's also moving away. 37.6 is is moving away. Therefore, the smallest, because we need an integer to make this no resolution, is 37. 7 high yield question. If you know how to do this, your August SAT will be a breeze. If this video helped you, subscribe for more content like that. If you've not subscribed, subscribe down and look down and subscribe. And then if you have a comment, put it down. And if you have a question that you want me to solve, put it in the comment section. Good luck in your exams.